Welcome to What Frankly Pierce News. I'm Arthur Fairview. On Saturday, September 18th, the Justice for the J6 rally took place at Union Square, an area in Washington, D.C. near the Capitol. The event was billed as a protest for the defendants being detained in connection with the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol.
Defendants being detained? Don't you mean insurrectionists?
Oh, right. You mean these guys.
A Proud Boy from New York State smashes through a window. The Capitol has been breached.
According to the Department of Justice, at least 610 individuals have been federally charged for their involvement in the January 6th riot at the United States Capitol. Most of the roughly 60 who remain behind bars are suspects that prosecutors and judges have identified as posing a credible and ongoing threat to the public's safety. Matt Braynard, the former Trump operative and political consultant who planned this rally, kicked it off with a joke.
Before we get started, I want to make sure that everybody got their wrists measured before the handcuffs when the FBI swoops in to take us all away. We all got our wrists measured, right, when we came in? It's hilarious, you're right.
You call that a joke?
Only on Earth, too.
That's not funny!
In any case, we can agree it was a feeble attempt at humor and apropos way to begin this meager little get-together.
Little.
How small was it?
Tiny! I've had bigger chunks of corn in my crap!
The rally fell short of expectations, with organizers having secured a permit for 700 attendees, but only between 400 to 450 people were inside the protest area Saturday, according to a Capitol Police report after the Justice for J6 rally concluded.
It looked like about half of those attending were from the media.
Clearly, some people took the rumors seriously, that this was some sort of a...
It's a trap!
No members of Congress, not even the usual suspects, appeared at the rally. Many of the far-right groups and individuals who promoted the original January 6th rally turned insurrection warned supporters to avoid the demonstration at all costs. Failed former President Donald Trump called it a setup to help make him look bad.
Oh, he doesn't need any help to do that.
Seriously, look in the mirror, Donnie.
But he also released a statement supporting those who have been charged.
That's being pointed to the guy without legs. The guy without legs in life.
The absence of MAGA hats and Trump flags was surprising.
Or was it?
Rally organizers are also asking their supporters not to come here wearing any kind of campaign or political gear. We don't know whether anyone is actually going to do that for them.
Braynard made a case that the point of this rally was to call attention to those people who were arrested for participating in the January 6th insurrection and are being held without bail. Calling them political prisoners, he cited his source.
We already have poll numbers that show essentially half of the public believes that the government is holding political prisoners. That came from Rasmussen.
Let me stop you there. Let's look at that poll for a moment, because this is a big claim. First, let's hear that statement one more time.
Essentially, half of the public believes that the government is holding political prisoners.
This poll was listed as a national survey of 1,000 U.S. likely voters conducted September 9th and 12th, 2021 by Rasmussen Reports.
1,000 likely voters, huh?
There were over 159 million people who voted in the 2020 election. So I'm not really buying this.
There were 3 questions asked to these likely voters. Number 1, organizers of a September 18th rally in Washington, D.C. say protesters arrested during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol are being held as political prisoners. Do you agree or disagree?
Objection, leading the witness.
Number 2, do you agree or disagree with this statement about those arrested during the January 6th Capitol riot? The Department of Justice and the FBI have targeted, imprisoned, and persecuted nonviolent American patriots.
Objection. Sustained.
Number 3, did Joe Biden win the 2020 presidential election fairly?
Oh, those questions aren't too biased, are they?
Pitching off-speed meatballs right over the plate.
Brainerd continued to try to make this about unity.
And it's not partisan. 45% of Democrats agree with that. In fact, yesterday I had a wonderful interview, which is you can see the full live stream because I don't chop it up. Put the full live stream up with my good new friend from MSNBC, Miss Yasmin.
Really? You are referring to Yasmin Vosugian of MSNBC as Miss Yasmin.
Did he mistake her for his dominatrix?
He wishes.
Well, let's take a look at the interview with his good friend.
We condemn those who engaged in violence, but individuals who were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time are being unjustly persecuted.
In the wrong place at the wrong time?
The vast majority of the hundreds of people who have been arrested who have not been charged with violence.
So these are people that have unlawfully stormed the Capitol.
Storming is the characterization. That's your characterization. It's not mine. In many cases, they walk through a door held open by a Capitol Police officer.
And herein, Mehdi, lies one of the biggest issues with all of this is the fact that he came back at me and said I was characterizing this as storming the Capitol. We all sat here and watched what took place on January 6th. That is a fact, right? These insurrectionists stormed the Capitol, whereas Matt Braynard was, in a way, painting it as if people walked in peacefully, the doors wide open for them, welcomed in to the Capitol grounds. That's not what happened.
Yeah, we thought so. Braynard took things to another level as he wrapped it up, drawing comparisons from the kind of people attending these rallies to the movements and causes of those who advance change with peaceful protests.
The political leadership in this country, it's a dirty secret, okay? When you're upset about a political problem and you're angry, they actually want you to do what happened on January 6th. They want violence from us. They want us to cross the line. They want us to destroy property. They want us angry. Because when you break the law, they can deal with you very easily, as you've seen. They send the FBI after you, go into the gulag. Especially if you're guilty, you deserve it. But that's what they want, because it's easy to deal with the political opposition that's violent. But what's the lesson that we've learned from people like Gandhi, or Martin Luther King, or the civil rights movement in this country?
Perhaps Braynard was really moved, or maybe the caffeine finally kicked in, but he seems to be overreaching just a bit here.
I'll tell you what terrifies them. This is what terrifies them. A peaceful assembly of the American First Right.
Oh, wasn't that scary? Huh?
No.
Stoking the flames while talking about peace.
Based on the reaction, the meager crowd seemed to buy into it, at least partly.
Peaceful community organizing from this day forward belongs to us.
I believe that belongs to everyone, no?
Not really their MO.
Thankfully, the rally was peaceful for the most part. There were 2 people who were arrested, one with a knife and the other with a gun. Other counter-protests took place, but there were no clashes or skirmishes, as there have been in the past.
Well, I believe their reputations have preceded them.
And the police were ready this time.
This is why we can't have nice things, Barry! You asshole!
In the end, the message of peaceful protest, whether in earnest or lip service, was not taken seriously by everyone in attendance.
Work within the law, work peacefully. Do not give up on our Constitution. Do not give up on our country. Do not give up on voting. Do not give up on petitioning our government.
Now, let's take a look at the headlines. A Texas doctor performed an abortion on September 6th for a woman in her first trimester, but beyond the 6 weeks stipulated in the new law. Dr. Alan Braid admitted he is taking a big risk, but having spent the past 50 years treating and helping patients, he couldn't just sit back and watch us return to 1972, the year before Roe versus Wade.
Wow. Going with a conscience and taking the high ground.
I have the high ground.
Careful. You know the old saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
Right you are. A former Arkansas lawyer, Oscar Stilling, filed a civil complaint against the doctor Monday in Behar County District Court, stating the doctor is going to get sued. Someone is going to get $10,000 off him. If that's the law, I may as well get the money. If it's not the law, let's go to court and get it all sorted out. He also said he decided to sue the doctor after he read about the case early Monday morning and wanted to test the Texas law. Stilley, by the way, is on home confinement, serving time after a tax fraud conviction.
And this is my surprised face.
And so it begins.
U.S. relations with France have sunk to their lowest level in decades over a deal between Great Britain and the U.S. with Australia to provide them with nuclear submarines, scuttling a $60 billion deal with France. President Macron was furious and recalled the ambassadors to both nations.
Why? Because we're French.
Quel dommage.
In Afghanistan, the Pentagon's public apology for a drone strike that killed an aid worker and 9 others brought little solace to the family members left behind.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
Israeli agents had wanted to kill Iran's top nuclear scientists for years. Then they came up with a way to do it without operatives present. A killer robot.
You now have 15 seconds to comply.
An Israeli hit team used a souped-up machine gun to kill Mohsen Fakhrizadeh and pulled the trigger from more than 1,000 miles away. The operation's success was the result of many factors, including serious security failures by Iran's Revolutionary Guards. But it was also the debut of a computerized sharpshooter fitted out with artificial intelligence.
Life. Don't talk to me about life.
And finally, it wouldn't be a show without some political craziness.
Some?
Yesterday, Marjorie Taylor Greene took to the floor of the House to, well, let's let her explain.
I've introduced articles of impeachment on President Joe Biden. The reason why I've done so is for his disgraceful actions having to do with Afghanistan, abandoning Americans, arming and terrorist nation, the Taliban, which is treason, giving aid and comfort to our enemies. But also, I've also introduced articles of impeachment for the national security crisis created at our southern border, which today is actually being invaded. But heading into this week, perhaps the most evil and disgusting thing that is going to happen in this 117th Congress is the bill that's going to be introduced that makes it a federal law to allow abortion up until the day of birth. This wall says, "In God we trust." And if that is the case, then this Congress will reject this evil bill and protect the innocent unborn. If this nation becomes a nation where we have such a federal law that can kill a baby up until the day of birth, then God will no longer provide protection in His grace over America. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the president.
That's a mouthful.
Exactly how much validity is there for any of that?
I'm guessing not much.
Let's see. First, she claimed Americans were abandoned in Afghanistan. We will let the president respond to that.
Now we believe that about 100 to 200 Americans remain in Afghanistan with some intention to leave. Most of those who remain are dual citizens, longtime residents who had earlier decided to stay because of their family roots in Afghanistan. The bottom line, 90% of Americans in Afghanistan who wanted to leave were able to leave. And for those remaining Americans, there is no deadline. We remain committed to get them out if they want to come out.
Next, she claims Biden committed treason by arming the Taliban. Well, after an exhaustive research, we did find this meme on Facebook. The current regime that just gifted the Taliban with $80+ billion worth of military-grade weapons wants your 9mm pistols. Think about it. However, according to PolitiFact, there has been no accounting for how much military equipment was left in Afghanistan after the U.S. troops withdrew and the Taliban resumed control of the country. The price tag claimed in the meme was a budget spread out over 2 decades, only a fraction of which went to weapons or hardware. One expert says aircraft and other military equipment are likely worth less than $10 billion. Oh, as an aside, President Biden has not called for the taking away of 9mm pistols from Americans.
But what about 45s?
Oh, if only.
Next, she said there is a crisis and invasion at the southern border. Perhaps there is some validity here. There is clearly a crisis going on. According to the AP, more than 14,000 Haitians and other migrants have been removed from an encampment under a bridge leading to a Texas border town. Calling it a challenging and heartbreaking situation, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas issued a stark warning. If you come to the United States illegally, you will be returned. Your journey will not succeed, and you will be endangering your life and your family's life.
Heartbreaking, but I don't see an invasion.
She finished with her potshots at the Women's Health Protection Act, claiming it would allow abortions up until delivery.
That sounds like more right-wing sound bites for Fox News.
So basically anything to make Biden look bad and distract from the Select Committee investigation into January 6th.
Bingo. And also, Ms. Green, this is a democracy, not a theocracy, so there is little import regarding your statement on divine protection. This has been But Frankly Pierce News. Thanks for watching. I'm Arthur Fairview. I don't have faith in faith. I don't believe in belief. You can call me faithless. I still cling to hope, and I believe in love, and that's faith enough for me.
And